Hey everybody, welcome to Cheap Comic Collector. This is episode number 142. And today we're going to be taking a look at some comics I've read recently, like we've done before. And a couple updates for you. Got a letter from the Homeowners Association, which I've talked about recently. And this was a good letter. It was just a thank you letter thanking me for cleaning my driveway. So apparently they backed down, and so I will not have to get a lawyer involved to sue them, which is good because I don't really want to go through that. And what else? Oh, I wanted to shout out to Psychotronic Squirt Gun and Higgy Pop. The day that I'm filming this, they both dropped videos that shouted me out. Yeah, Psychotronic plugged the trading program, which yeah, I'm filming this ahead of time, so as I film this, it hasn't quite started yet. But by the time you see this, it'll be going down for a few days. And these are the comics I have for trade. As you can see, I'm up to over 2 full short boxes, and I've got quite a few more yet that I haven't added to that list. But by the time you see this, they will be added in. But I'm looking at probably having about 2.5 short boxes worth of books to trade that are all doubles for me. So if you're not getting in on that, check it out. There's a link in the description which will take you to my Cheap Comic Collector blog, and I try to post something once a day on there, just like I do a video once a day, and it's usually just a panel or an ad or something from a comic book. Something fun to look at, and gives you a chance to take a closer look at some of the stuff we show quickly in the videos. And Hickey Pop, he shouted me out because he had to go take care of his mom, and he knows I've been having a rough time a little bit lately, and but all's good now. So thanks to him, for doing that. He's a great guy, and both of their channels are awesome. You really should be checking them out if you haven't checked them out yet. It's Psychotronic Squirt Gun and Higgy Pop. Just great guys, great content. Check them out. So anyway, we're gonna start off with Convergence Speed Force, 1 and 2 from 2015. So we're still working our way through that huge Convergence event that they did back in 2015. This one features the Flash characters, and let's see, we got Tony Bedard as the writer, and Tom Gromit as the artist, and Sean Parsons as the inker. And the art's decent. Just about as good as the Flash gets, really. This one surprised me a little bit. There's this thing where the Flash is running in the Speed Force, and if he thinks about his kids too much, they get sucked into the Speed Force and they get brought to wherever he is. And I hadn't seen that before. I did just start recently, the last few months, I've been reading the newer Flash comics on the internet, and I like the interaction with the kids. But I hadn't seen that particular power before, so I don't know if that's just for this or if it's something that exists in the regular continuity. But anyway, good stuff. This was a pretty fun series. It starts off a year ago where the Flash is taking a trip to Gotham City to investigate this time anomaly here, and he's taking the kids along, and he's not supposed to. Iris is going to be mad, and while they're in Gotham City, the dome drops, and they can't get out. So then it jumps to a year later. He doesn't have any powers. The Speed Force is gone. And he's basically attacking the dome with a pickaxe because he's just so frustrated. So everybody knows who he is now, and they think he's nuts. So it talks about how the Batman and the Atom and everybody else has given up, basically trying to defeat the dome. So still got his 2 kids, but he can't. He's having trouble focusing because he can't get back to Iris. So, and then the challenge happens. The dome gets lifted, so they get their powers back. Ta-da! And then Wally goes on a trip, man. He just takes off across, realizes they're on another planet, starts going through all these other cities that were under domes, sees the destruction of the, I forget what they called it, but it was like the Western series that happened in another comic that we showed previously. And then he just starts, he gets lost, so he can't find Gotham again. So he just starts going through all these cities. So he's in Bizarro City. He's got the Freedom Force 1 where they're fighting he's zipping through there where they're fighting the robotic Nazi stuff. And then this looks like either Krypton or Kandor, I'm not sure. Just the way they're dressed. And then Cord goes through there. And then he goes through the funny animal world where Captain Carrot lives. Unfortunately, they didn't use... They could have, instead of just having bystander generic animals, they could have actually used characters from various DC funny animal books, but they didn't. And but then you can see Fast back here in the shadows, and so he follows them because he realized there's other speedsters out there. So he follows them, and they're trying to figure out whether they should fight or not. And then Wonder Woman shows up. But this isn't Flash's Wonder Woman. This is a badass Wonder Woman that basically hates men. And that's the end of the first issue. So, good stuff. And then the second issue, you got Flash, Fastback, and the kids facing off against the mean Wonder Woman and her Amazons. So, they battle. They basically, the most of the issue is one big battle of Flash versus Wonder Woman and the Fastback and the kids fighting the Amazons back in their Gotham City. So, and it goes on for a while. Big panels. It was a pretty quick read, but it was good. I enjoyed it, and Fastback was a nice surprise. That fit in quite well, and that was pretty much the end. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that one quite a bit. And then we got from 1974 Marvel Double Feature number 6. And this features Captain America and Iron Man reprints. We got Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and Frank Giacoia on the art. And this was the Captain America story from Tales of Suspense number 82, I think that says. Oh, that's weird. My magnifying glass is missing. All right. Pretty sure that says 82. But anyway, in this one, Captain America is looking at his scrapbook of memories with Bucky in it. And he's at Avengers Mansion thinking about how nice it is that Tony Stark lets him live there, and I almost said Alfred Jarvis is waiting on him. And then he goes into some secret ready room that they have to check on things, and finds Agent Axis, an old foe who died a long time ago, and he starts battling him. And we interrupt the story for a Big Jim sweepstakes. Big Jim was a one of those big action figures, like the size of the $6 million man doll, I think. They weren't really called action figures yet at that point. And then the story resumes, and Captain America thinks he's going nuts because he keeps seeing these villains and trying to fight them, and then he flashes back to he's with Bucky, and they're on a, they're fighting Nazis, and none of it's real, and he doesn't know what's real and what isn't real, and he wonders what the heck is going on. He thinks he's going crazy, and then it turns out that Jarvis spiked his tea because he's not really Jarvis. He's the Adaptoid in disguise. And he's got the real Jarvis trapped in a closet or something. And then the Adaptoid becomes Captain America. So what will happen next? I don't know, because that was the end of that story. To be continued. And then we have an Iron Man reprint from Focus. Tales of Suspense, number 89, I think. Anyway, this one's by Stan Lee and Gene Colan. And didn't like this one as much as I did the Captain America story. The art is, of course, awesome. And Stan Lee dialogue is awesome. But most of this was just a big fight scene. They didn't have that many pages because they were only filling half an issue with the stories of these guys. So the story doesn't progress very far, but basically the Melter breaks out and battles Iron Man, and that's kind of it. But the art is fantastic. And of course it was on the Captain America story too, because that was Jack Kirby. And just classic art. Great stuff. And then Justice League of America 134. So I just sent out 2 copies of this to 2 different ones of the giveaway winners. So at least 2 of you could get to read this. All right, we're back. I accidentally turned my phone off. It popped up with a pop-up message, and I tried turning that off, and instead it turned the phone off. So we're back. This is Justice League of America 134. It's from 1976. And let's see, it's got a Ernie Chan cover, I think. And the story was by Gary Conway. Insides are done by Dick Dillon and Frank McLaughlin. And this was kind of a neat sci-fi story. I didn't like it as much as I thought I would, just because I usually like the Justice League comics from this era. But basically, it's got these 2 alien guys. And if you haven't read I sent 2 of these to for the giveaways. So if you haven't read it yet, you might want to skip this part. Skip ahead. If you don't want to, not see what's happening here, but basically they're fighting Despero. These two aliens are pitting the Justice League members against Despero because they're fascinated. They're basically studying the Justice League, and they're the last two members of their race. And it goes on for a while like that, where they split into teams of basically two versus Despero, and he kind of despairs of what's going on because he's like, where are these people coming from? What is going on? And there's a PSA message here of Superman, and so anyway, Supergirl actually saves the day. And by convincing the aliens that it would be more interesting if they each chose a side rather than just being observers. So when one side wins and one side loses, they start fighting. The other guy kind of sucker punches the other alien, and then they're at the last panel as they're thinking about how they introduced war to an alien race. So yeah, that's interesting. It was an interesting story. Kind of standard. We've seen it before, where aliens, pit superheroes against one another. Obviously, contest of champions and all that kind of stuff. What's their names of the Marvel universe, the Grandmaster or whoever he is. He has his little contests that he sets up all the time. Arcade's done it in the X-Men and stuff like that. So, but this was, this might have been before all of that, because this is from 1976. So definitely before Contest of Champions. But still, it was a fun read. And then last week we've got Donald Duck Adventures, a 64-page giant from 1994 from Gladstone Publishings. And the first story, the cover is actually, it's billed to Carl Barks, but what they did was they took two panels from the inside story and blew them up and combined them to create this cover. So, yes, the art is by Carl Barks, but it's not like he actually drew this as a cover. They took two images from the inside and combined them to create basically a new Carl Barks cover. And so the first story is Donald Duck in Terror of the River. And this was reprinted from the Four Color series. This was from number 108 from 1946 was when this was originally published. Dang, my mom was 10 years old when this was published. So, she's 87 now. And anyway, this was before Carl Barks kind of hit his stride. It's good. It's Carl Barks, so it's fantastic. But it was before he came up with Uncle Scrooge and the Beagle Boys and stuff like that. So you can see Donald's drawn a little bit differently than what we're used to. And basically, he gets suckered into an auction where he buys a houseboat that's in Ohio. So him and the kids travel to Ohio, and they go through a rigmarole of getting this sunken boat fixed up, and so they can sail the river. And then they have a few pages of trials learning how to maneuver a boat. And then the sea monster shows up. Yeah. And And so one of the nephews sees the sea monster. They think he's dreaming. And then they decide that maybe it's real. And then he shows up again. And this is one of the panels. This is, yeah. Yeah, this is one of the panels here. The dragon was taken from this panel for the cover. And then I think the one with Donald Duck was, yeah, this is the one with Donald Duck. So they combined this one and this one to create this one. So anyway, so yeah, they encounter the sea monster. They find out that it's real. And then, so they're fighting it. Nobody else wants to get involved. They don't believe that it exists. And eventually, they figure out that it's not real. It's actually this guy in a submarine that's got this mechanical apparatus, and he's just going around sinking boats because it's fun to scare people, and he wants to basically make the terror of the river and then retire and laugh at everybody's stories about the sea monsters. So the kids, he captures Donald. So Donald's trapped in the submarine with him, and the kids come up with a plan to rescue their Uncle Donald. So the kids in this one were very resourceful, which of course is the way of the Carl Barks comics, but this wasn't, like I said, an early issue. This is probably before Junior Woodchucks was invented. So anyway, the kids save the day. Donald helps, and they actually get the submarine sea monster thing as a reward. So, and that's the end of the story. Good story. Just doesn't make a lot of sense in some places, but great story. Carl Barks, early Carl Barks, can't beat it. You know, even though he hadn't hit his stride yet, he's still 5 times better than most of the other creators out there. So, then it goes on to reprint Donald Duck in Math Magic Land, which was kind of the cartoon that Disney did. That was an educational cartoon about math. And excuse me, I'm just gonna take a sip of soda here real quick. I'm not sure why my voice is giving out on me. I am filming this kind of late at night, but it's not like I've been talking all day. So anyway, so yeah, I mean, it starts out. Donald owes Uncle Scrooge money. He took out a loan, but his payments are so low that the interest grows faster than the loan gets paid off. So over time, Donald owes more money than what he borrowed, and it's just never going to stop. So he decides to study up on mathematics to try and figure out something. And he kind of goes into this dream state where he gets visited by the spirit of mathematics, and he gets transported to Math Magic Land, where these are the square roots of the trees. And I kind of stopped reading it at that point because I didn't really feel like a math lesson. I just kind of paged through it. It's like the history of mathematics, or at least the Disney-fied version of the history of mathematics. Who knows how real it is. And just a lot of math. Math is hard. And then right around here is where I started reading again, because it looked like it was going to get interesting. There was some kind of wizard that showed up that taught Donald a few tricks. So he goes back to Uncle Scrooge that night, goes banging on his door, wakes up Uncle Scrooge, and uses the penny doubling trick with the chessboard to get the better of Uncle Scrooge. He signs a contract with Uncle Scrooge where he will sell Uncle Scrooge his house. All he has to do is put a penny on the first square of a checkerboard, and double it every day. So it's 1 penny, 2 pennies, 4 pennies, 8 pennies, and so forth. And of course, by the end of that, it's a ridiculous amount of money. And so Uncle Scrooge begs him to tear it up. So Uncle Scrooge forgives him his loan, and he forgives the contract with Uncle Scrooge. So Donald Duck actually comes out on the winning end of a deal with Uncle Scrooge, which is very unusual. And then this one, Donald Duck, is just a one-page gag from 4-Color 379. I think that's a 9. And it's not very funny, so I'm not going to go through it. But that was it. That was it. Good stuff. Good stuff. So, favorite is probably... You know what? I'm going to have to go with Donald Duck because of Terror on the River. I hadn't read that in years. It was good. Really enjoyed it. Then Convergence. Then Marvel Double Feature because of the Captain America story. And surprisingly, the Justice League issue was my least favorite. Yeah, just kind of a traditional story that didn't really have any plot twists that weren't unexpected. So, but all in all, good stuff. I enjoyed all of them. Good stuff. So, thank you for watching. Go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe button. Check out the links in the descriptions for if you want to send me your address so I can send you a free comic book, and for subscribing. And also the link is there for the trading. You can go to the cheatcomiccollector.blogspot and check that out so you can see the trading program there. And I will see you tomorrow with the second half of that short box that we started yesterday. And then the next day we'll do another one of these. I think it's going to be a Richie Rich day. It's been long enough where I think I can get away with doing another episode of 4 Richie Rich comics. So I'll see you tomorrow with that short box, and thanks for watching.